Pursuant to the provisions of New Jersey's Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting was properly provided by transmitting the notice of the meeting for publication in the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger on January 4th, 2023. Notice of the meeting in the governing body has been posted in the corridor of the municipal building and in the office of the municipal clerk. Roll call.
Councilmember Amadale.
Here.
Councilmember Condos. Here. Councilmember Kraft.
Here.
Councilmember Dr. McHugh.
Here.
Councilmember Welk.
Here.
Council President DeMichael.
Here.
Mayor Peterson.
Here. Let us all now rise for a moment of silence to be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is minutes. Those for consideration are the May 11th, 2023 work session, May 11th, 2023 regular meeting, May 25th, 2023 work session, May 25th, 2023 regular meeting. Any comments, questions, or motions?
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Motion by Council President DeMichael, second by Councilmember Wilk. Roll call.
Council President DeMichael.
Yes.
Councilmember Welk.
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. McHugh.
Yes.
Councilmember Kraft.
Yes.
Councilmember Condos.
I abstained for the 25th, I wasn't here, but it should be 11th.
Councilmember Amadale.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next are ordinances, final reading and adoption, ordinance 2023-05, amending chapter 435 entitled Vehicles and Traffic. This as a result of past discussion and including the first reading, and this entails the ongoing and at least annual review, but it's being done even on a more regular basis through the police department, those various spaces in front of residents that qualify for a restricted parking handicapped person designated spot and some that no longer apply, and this is an update. Any other questions, comments from any council member on this second reading? If not, we'll go into the audience for final reading, adoption 2023-05. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, I close the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Council President DeMichael, second by Councilmember Wilk. Roll call.
Council President DeMichael.
Yes.
Councilmember Welk.
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. McHugh.
Yes.
Councilmember Kraft.
Yes.
Councilmember Condos.
Yes.
Councilmember Amadale.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next is the resolutions. Strike that. It is not. It is the payment of claims. The ayes are. It is 2023-171, payment of claims. The bill is from May 26, 2023 to June 8, 2023. Any questions, comments from council, or if not, any motion?
Make a motion, Mayor. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Kraft, second by Council President DeMichael. Roll call.
Councilmember Kraft.
Yes.
Council President DeMichael.
Yes.
Councilmember Welk.
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. McHugh.
Yes.
Councilmember Condos.
Yes.
Councilmember Amadale.
Yes.
Motion approved.
And next are the resolutions. I'll read in the summary fashion. 172, requesting approval of items of revenue appropriation FY 2023 Clean Communities. 173 is approving the alcohol beverage control social affairs special permit for the Ocean County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee for the Boots on the Bay Sunset Food Truck Event. 174, approving the ABC Social Affairs special permit, Ocean County St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee for the 125th Parade Town Fair. 175, authorizing the mayor and council to accept a monetary donation to be utilized for the purchase and installation of playground equipment for the 14th Avenue Park. 176, approving renewal of liquor licenses for the term 223 to 224. 177, approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with New Jersey Department of Transportation for the fiscal year 2024 NJDOT municipal aid improvements to Stockton Avenue project. 178, authorizing the appointment of seasonal employees for the Department of Public Works. 179, authorizing 2023 raffle license application. 180, appointing seasonal employees for the Department of Beach Control. 181, authorizing the Borough Administrator to hire seasonal labor employees for the Department of Public Works. 182, approval of items of revenue appropriations from American Rescue Plan firefighter grant. Any questions, comments from any council members on any of the resolutions? Hearing none, it's not required by law, but it's our practice to allow any public comments on resolutions before they're voted on. If anyone has such a comment, if you could give your name and address into the mic. Hearing none, I would close the public portion on resolutions and entertain as a consent agenda a motion to adopt the resolutions. Motion
to approve.
by Councilmember Condos,
Second.
second by Councilmember Kraft. Roll call.
Councilmember Condos?
Yes.
Councilmember Kraft?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. McHugh?
Yes.
Councilmember Wells?
Yes.
Councilmember Anfield?
Yes.
Council President Michael?
Yes.
Mr.
And that concludes the written agenda. And we had items that the attorney's working on that will be for the next meeting.
Mayor, I just have one
Yes.
question. I'm sorry to bring it up sooner, but where are we at with the street sweep that we spoke about?
I talked today by chance with Mayor Vaz of Seaside Heights, and then I texted our conversation, and I know our administrator's working on it. She's going to be meeting the administrator of Seaside Heights tomorrow morning. Mayor Vaz was committed to going ahead with it. I thought it sounded for a cliche, a win-win for the town, and what was presented to us, I think it's going to be confirmed one last time, is that the two towns together would be eligible for an application for a joint purchase, joint use, as a shared service of a street sweeper, brand new street sweeper. I don't know, our administrator was at the meeting. I heard a ballpark figure around 475 to 500,000.
Up to 475,000 is the grant amount.
Is a grant, and what the state would pay outright 75%. The two towns would share that additional 25%. So it's 12.5%. It would be our responsibility. It could be garaged in both towns or either town, however we see fit. One of the advantages, and this was presented to us at a seminar mayors meeting for the beach mayors, but one of the advantages is there are going to be some new mandatory rules in effect starting January 1 for stormwater management, and that every town demonstrates their plan, and that includes street sweeping and showing that you have an actual in-place plan of operations of which streets are done on which time period, just to avoid that stormwater runoff. So this falls into that and helps us there too. So I don't know, that in answer to your question, so that's kind of where I know, Colin, you're going to look into it as early as tomorrow.
No, I think it's something needed, that's why I was excited about it, Mayor.
Yeah, it is.
To be honest with you, I forgot about it. And we had the conversations about the streets and everything today. It was one of my things on my mind, was cleaning them.
And I know too, there's a deadline in June, so we don't have all the paperwork right now in front of us, so we would have to adopt this the next meeting, the June meeting. So that answers as best as I know where we are.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anything else from council on any issues? I know one item I certainly wanted to offer congratulations and thanks to everyone from the 125th Anniversary Committee, the Seaside Park Historical Society. The organizers were Dave Sue Lutz, and they had a whole cadre, a group of volunteers, some of whom were here tonight. I see a lot of the president of the Historical Society is here, Chuck Appleby, but Alex Condos is a trustee, Joe Toast, the co-chair, and he's a member, obviously an officer of the Historical Society, but also co-chair in the 125th. And everybody went, raved about it, said it was a great success, which it was, and a lot of fun, and a real plus for the town. It's one of the series of events that are ongoing throughout the year for celebration of the 125th birthday of the Borough of Seaside Park. So everybody involved in that did a great job, and it was really a nice affair, nice event. So. Anyone else on council, any issues, anything else to discuss? If not, we'll go into the audience if there are any public comments. I know Joanne had, well, Edie, we heard.
Jimmy Plank, 4811 Avenue. My concern relates to the issues that happened in other towns over Memorial Day weekend with these roving groups, I'll call it, of teens and possibly older kids. And I know that towns to the north of us have addressed this by, at least partially, by enacting curfews. I realize it's a difficult situation. I know that the police are limited in the interaction they can have with youth. I don't know all the particulars, but I'm sure they feel somewhat handicapped. And I'm wondering, no, I guess I'm asking, recommending, that we do something to be proactive. I know I read today in the Shore Beat that Seaside Heights is considering a curfew. I know there was a whole mess of kids in the CVS just swiping stuff off the shelves and throwing it. They have no respect for personal or any other kind of property, and I worry as they get kicked, I shouldn't say kicked out, but limited in one town, and they move south, and they seem to be moving south, and guess who's next on the agenda? That would be us. Now, maybe we don't have as many businesses for them to disrupt, but nothing's to keep them from throwing rocks through windows, damaging cars. So I would like to know that you might be willing to consider something to help ameliorate in advance before it's like too late. Thank you.
And we addressed Ms. Pence's comment and question before. I know I wasn't being rude, cutting off. It's just following Robert's rules. Obviously, we had to follow the work session and only address those items on the work session, but that was the substance of where the question was going from Ms. Penn, the same issue that she was discussing. So obviously, it's something of concern to all of us. And I had a number of calls praising the town for its actions that were proactive, taken over the last several years on that topic. But I think it's something definitely to be aware of. I know Seaside Heights is going around and sounds like leaning not toward adopting such a curfew, but they're monitoring and watching it as well. And you're correct, that's where it arose. And many problems arose, and especially at Seaside Heights, but other towns north of us over Memorial Day weekend. So, I don't know if anyone else on the council has any questions, comments, but it's certainly something to be very mindful about.
I think it's something to be proactive about, as they're saying, rather than reactive after something already happens. I mean, I don't know. I'm really ambivalent about it because, when I grew up around here, there wasn't the facility to create I don't know what they call it, a group get together by, phone. It was all word of mouth, where he is, North Avenue or something like that. And and it would get around. But locally, not the way they are doing it now, it seems like, they pull from all over the state. I mean, it's a large crowd of individuals. And, I think maybe, we should maybe look into that as a town sooner than later. And because if everybody else has a curfew and we don't, guess what, they're coming to us. You know? I don't know how legal it is.
What's legal? The curfew laws are basically any juvenile, which is considered to be 17 or under, you can establish a curfew that juvenile can't be on any public road or street, and you can assess a time unless they're accompanied by a parent or guardian, or unless they're traveling to and from work, for example. There's some exceptions like that. But there are towns that have those curfews. I'm just looking, for example, Seaside Heights, presently, their curfew right now is only during the winter. I think maybe they're talking about expanding it to the summer months.
I think Lavalette just adopted after Tom's River.
Lavalette, Tom's River, Ocean City, obviously, was all over the news. They went to 8 o'clock, I think. I think they went to 8 a.m. on the beaches. On the beaches. They prohibited anybody on the beach after 8 a.m., 8 p.m. 8 p.m. No, 8 p.m. But in any event, they're legal, but they focus on juveniles. So 17 and under, a certain time limit, time frame at night, and must be accompanied by an adult, parent or guardian, if it's after 10 o'clock, for example, is the average curfew. We prosecute in Beach Haven and a couple of Long Beach, and I think they're about the same. I think they're anywhere around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and must be accompanied by a parent or guardian. So they're not uncommon, and
I mean, it does seem restricted, it does seem almost martial law like, but, and it might be like no fun town, but, it's no fun either for everybody that lives here when crowds ascend on your house like that either. So, if other towns are doing it, it doesn't necessarily point us out as being, overly restrictive, but, I agree. I mean, it's a current state of affairs we live in this day, and we have to, unfortunately, look out for this sort of.
that wouldn't help with the gathering of groups of adults 18 and over.
Well,
That's true. You still have the issue of those pop-up parties, they call them, or whatever. and
Pop-up parties.
All of a sudden, you have 500 people show up on your beach.
Right, drinking and.
And there are, I know towns that passed ordinance, I think Point Pleasant Beach passed an ordinance on that. And I can look in, so there are ordinances to prohibit those kind of activities as well.
It's worth looking into, Mr. Mayor. No doubt about that.
Well, the summer's upon us, so, I mean.
Well, we did have some, I'm saying damage, but on the boardwalk, the kids took their seats, those benches, and they piled them all up in the, not all of them, but about 6 or 7 into the gazebos. And Eric was telling me how they moved, they're so heavy, but they did. They moved this, so we should look into this. There's no doubt about that. You're right, Doctor.
I'm more than look into it, I think, like I say, I think time's of the essence in this thing. I don't know who would look into it, what.
That's what I was just asking, which committee would that be under,
Law and Public Safety?
Yeah, I think so.
probably? But
Because that would be
that fine line
police
between
ordinance.
public gathering and violating other laws, I guess, that you're really trying to balance. Right, I mean, the vandalism, the theft, the destruction is really what I think Edie was alluding to, not so much that we have kids walking off the boardwalk or riding their bikes after hours. I don't think that was your intent of the thing, so I think, again, not to take a broad brush to eliminating summer activities, which people go out crabbing at night, they ride their bicycles. I mean, I'm a mom of 3 kids, 2 of which are under 17 and 16. We do tell them nothing good happens after 11 o'clock on the boardwalk. They don't want them up there. But that doesn't mean I don't let them ride their bikes from the ice cream parlor. And so just think there's a balance there.
Any other Questions, comments? Anything further, Chuck?
Oh, my
Chuck?
goodness.
Go ahead, women first.
Oh, my.
Then children.
Then old men.
Shirley Russell, so baby Avenue, Seaside Park. Yeah, Rite Aid had a lot of problems too, but we've been having it every summer. It's 13 to 16-year-olds that are just completely out of control. And, I mean, I don't know, I guess maybe I'm behind the times, but by 11 o'clock, if I had a 17 or younger, they could be home. I mean, so I think making something like 11 o'clock would be fine unless I'm really outdated. But, and over Memorial Weekend, my grandchildren were there, so I was not in my bedroom, I was down here where they were. And when I got up in the morning, I looked out and 2 of my blocks from my wall were out in the street. So somebody had fun when they were walking by. One broke up, one I can use again. So there is stuff going on. How are we doing with our beach badge sales? Because I was reading about Lavalette and I wanted to know where we stood with our sales so far.
You asked,
I don't know who to ask.
refer to Joe Cole, he's the man that's in charge.
Well, for this year's badges, like including the one we sold in December,
Right.
for the holidays, it's a little over $1 million.
Okay, so we're doing good on that. And I guess this will go to you. Is Earl coming back to finish up our projects?
Yeah, we sent them another letter with the punch list, but of course, the first time we sent them a letter was the beginning of April, they came out May the 12th, so it takes them a little while to get out.
So
We still have a retainer.
We're still working on that. Okay, that's good. And I noticed, Mr. Kraft, you said something about the fire department letting you know about, like, where they are in their surplus or budget or
Yeah, I
whatever.
mean, the CFO knows, because we get bills and things, but if they have something that's coming up, that's why I wanted them to
Because the
let us
books
know.
from the fire department and Triborough are to be given for council to look over, I believe. I don't have the exact statute on that, but I don't know I know when Nancy was on, they never got to see the books, but, it would give you an idea of the money and where it is and how much they have. So something to think about at the end of the year. Because I do believe they're supposed to turn that over to you to see. Borough Hall, I mean, we've bought properties because they haven't looked good and blah, blah, blah. Have you looked at the Borough Hall? Like, has anybody pulled in the front where those garage doors are and looked at the paint peeling off them? Or taken their hand on the railing to see how it's disgraceful? It's our Borough Hall. I mean, you talk about homes that might not look good. Like, our own Borough Hall looks disgraceful. All around the windows. And I mean, the big pieces of white paint missing off the doors. Do we have any intentions of making at least our Borough Hall look good? Is that somewhere in our, I mean, we buy all these properties, can we have our own Borough Hall? Have a paint party? Something? I would like a comment from somebody, please.
Maybe we should bring that up to the Director of Public Works and see if he can, if they can do anything.
I mean,
It's a project we need to, it definitely needs to be done, no doubt.
Spruce it up.
It's
Yeah.
likely by an outside vendor, it's a big job.
Yeah, I mean, even just the front railings though, where people that walk up, some have to hang on to railings now. I mean, they're really bad. And it's almost embarrassing, here we want to have this real great town, nice looking, and then our own Borough Hall is looking like, not so good, I'll say.
Thank you.
The playground equipment, I noticed the money was moved over in the thing. Do we have a date when that's going to be coming along? I don't know who to look at. I'll look at you, Mayor. How's the playground?
Well, coming along, the playground is a bigger issue. The equipment is due any day. The equipment, that was, we just accepted the gift.
Right.
And
We don't have an installation because they still have to figure out the drainage, is that it?
The lights and the draining.
The lights are one of the issues, and getting a piece of equipment to work on one in particular. But we may go ahead with the playground portion, depending on
And so I just wonder if you.
minimizing any risk or jeopardizing any damage to the surface of the court.
Because that'll make us more of a fun town. Kids will be real happy, right? It'll be a fun town.
They should be happy.
That's mine are.
And I'm glad you brought up Funtown, okay? And that's what it should be.
Well, my
And
kids
named
think
the
it
beer
is.
after it.
My kids have a good time.
And everybody, and many other people's children had a good time.
That's
I'm gonna
right.
Have a conversation with you because I don't want Steve
No.
to.
And one last thing, on the Desert Palm, which of course we own, you had mentioned like charging stations, but previously when Pat Urso was here, she asked a question, if you're going to have public input on these properties as to what we think would be a good idea. And it seems like behind the doors, you're coming up with ideas without including the public, which the taxpayers bought that property, or will be buying it, or wherever we stand on it. But I think it's a good idea that you include what the people think, because I don't think I'm wrong on this, you all were elected to represent the people of the town. And by coming up with your own 7 ideas, or whatever, you're not. And I think you need to remember why you were elected, and to include the people in town, and let us have some say in what we feel should go on some of these properties. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments, Chuck?
Chuck Appleby, 215 10th Avenue. I didn't know if we had, I've been reading up on Airbnbs, if we have an ordinance about short-term rentals in town. It seems like as the economy gets worse, more people are gonna be wanting those 2-day rentals and stuff. And it'll be 4 couples renting a house. Before you know it, it's rented. They show up with their 4 or 5 cars. And the turnover is done, but a lot of towns have been doing these Airbnb to limit short-term rentals. I think in a town like ours, it would be a good idea to try to preserve. I've said it before, down in Florida, it's a minimum of 1 month you have to rent for a property. It's really nice because it forces you to take a month vacation down in Florida, so that's a good side of the coin, right? But I think the Airbnb, as the economy goes down, I think more people are gonna be trying to do some, renting out short-term to get that extra money. And you make more by doing that. And I know we had a neighbor that did it, it was very bad, there was stuff going on. So I know towns do it, if you could look at something like that, I think would be good. Doing things, I like to say, we have this standard group of kids that come with their cars along the bay every sunset with their like hot rod cars, and it's pretty cool. I don't really mind. I'm glad to see people having fun. We used to go like in parking lot 2. We used to do drag racing in parking lot 2. And then at night, we were too young to go to bars, so we go to Curly's.
The statute of limitations here.
So we did. Well, you do what you can do, and people are looking to have a good time, so you balance it all out, is what I'm saying. But the Airbnb, I think, is something we should be looking at. And I noticed along the bay, when the sand comes off in a storm or something, the county, I think, or if it is the borough, we should do something about it. They pick up all the white sand and they dump it back, and they're putting it on top of the vegetation. They're putting it on top of where the pump stations are. So the pump station's sand, if you go by the one on 7, you'll see the sand is higher than the manholes now. It's higher than the curb. It just blows into the street, goes in the storm drain, goes down, and then that company that's there all the time is making a fortune because they're just fixing the pumps because the sand gets in there and destroys the pumps, and they just keep doing it. But as long as the sand goes in the system like that, it's no good. But the DOT doesn't manage everything right. We work with them to correct that situation. And I appreciate everybody going to the cocktail party. We had a great time. Steve, you could have danced with Alex and me there. We would have had a good time. We missed you. I wish you were there.
I couldn't make it, yeah, I appreciate it.
And there's another party on the 25th of August, a dinner party, same type thing. I hope everybody could go. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and we wanna try to have more fun doing stuff like that. That's it, thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Any other comments? Hearing none, Alex.
So close to a clean getaway.
I was waiting for that. Alex Condos, 44 7th Avenue. I just want to thank the mayor and council and the borough attorney and the borough administrator for listening to my presentation and being patient to let me say what I have to say. I also want to thank Chuck. Chuck, you did a great job with the cocktail party. It was absolutely fantastic. It was fabulous. You and your sister and your wife and everybody who helped out put it together. The band was fantastic. We just had a great time, and Friday night made me really feel good and made me very happy and proud, my wife and I, that we are residents here, and that we can go out and have a good time like that, and celebrate something that's important to everybody here. So, again, and council, I apologize for my little outburst. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Any other comments? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to close the public portion and for adjournment. Motion by Councilmember Amador, second by Councilmember Condos. Roll call.
Councilmember Amador?
Yes.
Councilmember Condos?
Yes.
Councilmember Kraft?
Here, yes.
Councilmember Dr. McHugh? Thank you. Councilmember Wilt?
Yes.
President Michael?
Yes.
Motion approved. Thank you.